Welcome to Unsolved Historical Mysteries. The Lost Library of Alexandria. The truth behind the vanished treasure of knowledge. Chapter 1. Introduction to the Mystery. Section 1. The Magnificent Library of Alexandria. The Library of Alexandria, a name that echoes through the ages. As a symbol of wisdom and knowledge. Established in the Egyptian city of Alexandria during the reign of Ptolemy I Soter in the early 3rd century BCE. This institution wasn't just a library. It was an unprecedented hub of intellectual achievement, where scholars, philosophers, scientists, and poets from all over the known world gathered to exchange ideas and expand the boundaries of human understanding. Imagine a sprawling complex built near the royal palace, housing not only scrolls and manuscripts but also lecture halls, reading rooms, gardens, and even laboratories. Its architectural beauty was said to be breathtaking, but it was the collection of knowledge within that truly made it extraordinary. According to estimates, the library held anywhere from 40,000 to 700,000 scrolls at its peak, covering subjects ranging from mathematics and astronomy to literature, medicine, and philosophy. The Ptolemaic rulers spared no effort in amassing the greatest collection of knowledge the world had ever seen. Ships arriving at the bustling port of Alexandria were searched, and any scrolls or books found were taken, copied, and added to the library's holdings. The originals were often kept, while the copies were returned to their owners. This aggressive acquisition policy, known as book plundering, made the library a true treasure trove of information. Among the many intellectual giants who worked there was Eratosthenes, who calculated the circumference of the earth with remarkable accuracy. Euclid, the father of geometry, likely taught in its halls, while Archimedes' revolutionary work in physics and engineering found an audience here. The library also preserved texts from other cultures, including Persian, Indian, and Hebrew works, embracing a vision of knowledge that transcended borders. But the Library of Alexandria was not only a place of learning. It was also a symbol of power and cultural supremacy for the Ptolemaic dynasty. By creating a repository of all known knowledge, the rulers of Alexandria aimed to solidify their legacy as enlightened patrons of the arts and sciences. The library became a beacon, attracting brilliant minds from across the Mediterranean and beyond. Yet, for all its grandeur, the library's fate remains one of history's greatest mysteries. How did such a magnificent institution, one that had accumulated centuries of knowledge, simply vanish? Was it destroyed in a single catastrophic event, or did it slowly fade away through neglect and conflict? These questions have haunted historians and researchers for centuries. The story of the Library of Alexandria is not just about a building or its books. It's about the pursuit of knowledge, the clash of ideologies, and the fragility of human achievement. And as we delve deeper into this mystery, we may uncover truths that are even more astonishing than the legends themselves. Section 2. Its importance to ancient knowledge. The Library of Alexandria was more than just a grand architectural achievement. It was the heart of a revolutionary vision for the preservation and expansion of knowledge. At its core, the library sought to gather all the world's learning under one roof, an ambitious goal inspired by Alexander the Great's dream of unifying the known world. His successors, the Ptolemies, transformed this dream into reality by establishing the library as a beacon of intellectual progress. What made the Library of Alexandria so unique was its open-minded approach to knowledge. It wasn't limited to Egyptian or Greek works, but welcomed contributions from every culture it could reach. Manuscripts from Persia, India, Babylon, and even distant lands such as Ethiopia, were actively sought out and preserved. The library's multicultural collection wasn't just a symbol of political power, but a testament to the Ptolemies' desire to understand and harness the knowledge of all peoples. The scholars who worked within the library's walls were among the greatest minds of the ancient world. Figures like Euclid, who laid the foundations of geometry, and Eratosthenes, who accurately calculated the Earth's circumference, made groundbreaking advancements that would influence science for centuries. It was also here that the first systematic attempts to catalog knowledge were undertaken, as scholars sought to organize and classify the immense collection of texts. The library's importance wasn't just about scientific discoveries. It also played a crucial role in preserving literature, philosophy, and religious texts. Works of Homer, Plato, and Aristotle were meticulously copied and studied. Religious texts from various cultures were translated and examined, contributing to a broader understanding of belief systems and human thought. This scholarly environment promoted a unique synergy between disciplines, where philosophy, science, and literature could interact and enhance one another. Moreover, the Library of Alexandria wasn't isolated from the world. It actively engaged in correspondence with intellectuals from distant lands. Travelers and scholars from across the Mediterranean and beyond were welcome to study, discuss, and contribute to the growing repository of knowledge. This cultural exchange made the library a melting pot of ideas and innovation. The sheer volume of knowledge amassed at Alexandria had profound implications for the ancient world. It served as a model for later institutions of learning, inspiring the creation of libraries and universities long after its destruction. The library's emphasis on acquiring and preserving texts from diverse cultures laid the groundwork for the very idea of a universal knowledge repository, something modern institutions like the Library of Congress or the British Library continue to strive for. But this immense concentration of knowledge also made the Library of Alexandria a target. Political conflicts, ideological clashes, and religious tensions would all play their part in its eventual downfall. Yet, the legacy of this ancient institution continues to echo through history, serving as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale about the fragility of human achievement. Section 3. The mystery of its destruction. The downfall of the Library of Alexandria remains one of history's most captivating mysteries. How could such a magnificent center of knowledge, an institution that had gathered the wisdom of the ancient world, simply vanish? Historians and researchers have debated this question for centuries, but the truth remains elusive. What we do know is that the library did not fall victim to a single catastrophic event, but rather a series of destructive episodes over time. One of the most famous theories involves Julius Caesar. In 48 BCE, during Caesar's civil war against Pompey, he found himself trapped in Alexandria. In a desperate attempt to secure the harbor, Caesar ordered his troops to set fire to the Egyptian fleet. The flames reportedly spread to parts of the city, and many ancient sources suggest that this fire reached the library, causing massive destruction. However, it is unclear whether the main library itself was destroyed, or only its satellite storage, known as the Warehouse of Books. Yet, this was far from the only disaster to befall the library. Several centuries later, Alexandria became a major Christian center under Roman rule. By the 4th century CE, religious conflicts between pagans and Christians intensified, culminating in the persecution of scholars and the destruction of so-called pagan institutions. Many believe that the library or at least its remnants were targeted during this period, particularly under the decree of Emperor Theodosius I, who ordered the destruction of pagan temples throughout the Roman Empire. And the troubles didn't end there. In the 7th century CE, the Islamic Caliphate, under the leadership of Caliph Omar, reportedly conquered Alexandria. According to some accounts, when asked what should be done with the remaining books, the Caliph famously responded, "If those books agree with the Quran, they are unnecessary. If they disagree, they are heretical." This statement, if true, would suggest that the library's destruction was a deliberate act of religious censorship. However, many historians doubt the authenticity of this story, considering it a later fabrication intended to discredit Muslim rulers. The more likely truth is that the Library of Alexandria did not perish in a single dramatic moment, but rather faded away through a combination of neglect, religious intolerance, and political turmoil. As rulers changed and priorities shifted, the value of maintaining such a vast repository of knowledge gradually diminished. Without consistent support or protection, the library eventually crumbled under the weight of indifference. But what if parts of the library's collection survived? Could some of its priceless scrolls have been transported elsewhere before the final destruction? This possibility has intrigued researchers for centuries. While many believe that the library's contents were irretrievably lost, others argue that fragments may still exist, hidden away in private collections or undiscovered ruins. The mystery of the Library of Alexandria's destruction is as much about ideology and power as it is about fire and conquest. Was it a victim of cultural cleansing, military conflict, or mere neglect? Or was it a tragic combination of all these factors? Understanding what truly happened may forever remain beyond our grasp, but the clues left behind are enough to keep the search alive. Chapter 2: The Creation and Purpose of the Library. Section 1: Founding of the Library. The founding of the Library of Alexandria was a deliberate effort to establish the greatest intellectual center the world had ever seen. Its creation stemmed from the grand vision of Alexander the Great, who, after conquering Egypt in 332 BCE, founded Alexandria as his capital. Though Alexander died before realizing his dream, his successors in the Ptolemaic dynasty continued his ambitious plans. Ptolemy I Soter, one of Alexander's trusted generals, became the first ruler of Egypt and initiated the construction of the library. As part of the larger Museum complex, dedicated to the Muses, the Greek goddesses of arts and sciences, the library aimed to be more than a repository of texts. It was a center for learning and scholarly debate. His son, Ptolemy II Philadelphus, expanded the library's reach, aggressively acquiring texts from across the known world. Books were often confiscated from ships arriving at Alexandria's busy harbor, copied by skilled scribes, and the originals kept for the library's collection. This relentless pursuit of knowledge even included sending envoys to distant lands to obtain scientific, religious, and philosophical texts. The Ptolemies' aim was clear: to establish Alexandria as the intellectual capital of the world. By amassing all human knowledge, they sought to demonstrate their cultural superiority and legitimacy as enlightened rulers. To achieve this, they recruited scholars from various regions, offering them generous patronage to work and study in Alexandria. The library's magnetism attracted some of history's greatest minds, including philosophers, mathematicians, and astronomers. It wasn't just a collection of texts. It was a vibrant institution where groundbreaking theories were debated, discoveries were made, and knowledge continued to grow. The early scholars also attempted to categorize the texts, creating the first known systems of classification. Their goal was not just to gather knowledge, but to make it accessible and understandable. Despite its success, the library's aggressive methods of acquiring knowledge created tension with neighboring cultures. Still, the Ptolemies believed the benefits outweighed the risks. Alexandria had become the greatest intellectual hub of the ancient world, but the seeds of its eventual downfall were already being sown. Section 2. Collection of knowledge. The Library of Alexandria's relentless pursuit of knowledge was unlike anything the ancient world had ever seen. Its goal was not only to gather Greek writings, but to acquire texts from every corner of the known world. This ambitious vision required aggressive and sometimes controversial methods, which the Ptolemaic rulers pursued without hesitation. One of the most effective methods for expanding the collection was the policy of book confiscation at Alexandria's bustling harbor. Any scrolls or books brought by merchants, travelers, or scholars were temporarily seized, meticulously copied by skilled scribes, and then returned, though often originals were kept and only the copies were given back. This strategy rapidly increased the library's holdings and demonstrated the ruler's unwavering commitment to accumulating knowledge. But the library's collection efforts went far beyond Alexandria's docks. The Ptolemies sent envoys across the Mediterranean and beyond, seeking out valuable texts. These emissaries traveled to places such as Athens, Rhodes, Persia, and even India, negotiating with local scholars, acquiring manuscripts, and commissioning translations. The goal was to make the Library of Alexandria the most comprehensive depository of human knowledge ever created. The library was not limited to philosophical and literary works. Its collection included a wide range of subjects, such as astronomy, mathematics, medicine, geography, natural history, and religious texts. Egyptian, Persian, Indian, Hebrew, and Babylonian writings were all gathered and preserved. Even practical knowledge, like engineering and agriculture, was considered valuable and added to the ever-growing archives. A remarkable feature of the library was its effort to translate foreign texts into Greek, making knowledge from distant cultures accessible to the wider Hellenistic world. This process not only preserved countless works but also enriched Greek science, philosophy, and literature by integrating new ideas and discoveries. The Ptolemies' dedication to acquiring knowledge was matched by their commitment to organizing it. Early scholars working at the library, such as Callimachus, developed cataloging systems to classify texts by subject and author. This was the first known attempt to systematically categorize information, setting the foundation for the very idea of a research library. However, this aggressive quest for knowledge came with consequences. Neighboring cultures often viewed Alexandria's efforts as intellectual theft, rather than preservation. Moreover, the sheer volume of texts collected created organizational challenges that even the most brilliant scholars struggled to manage. Despite these difficulties, the library's collection efforts were largely successful. Alexandria became synonymous with learning and innovation, attracting scholars from all over the world. But even as its influence grew, so too did the tensions that would eventually contribute to its downfall. Section 3. Vision of Alexander the Great. The inspiration behind the Library of Alexandria can be traced back to the ambitious vision of Alexander the Great himself. Alexander was not only a brilliant military strategist, but also a man driven by intellectual curiosity and a desire to unite the diverse cultures of his vast empire. when he founded the city of Alexandria in 331 BCE. He intended it to be more than just a political and economic capital. It was to be a center of learning and cultural exchange. Though Alexander died before he could see this vision realized, his dream of a universal repository of knowledge lived on through his successors, the Ptolemaic dynasty. Ptolemy I Soter, the first ruler of Egypt after Alexander's death, recognized the value of establishing Alexandria as a hub of intellectual achievement. But it was his son, Ptolemy II Philadelphus, who truly brought Alexander's dream to life by expanding and institutionalizing the library. For Alexander, knowledge was power. His campaigns across Persia, Egypt, and beyond were not only military conquests, but also missions to collect knowledge from various civilizations. During his expeditions, he encountered new philosophies, scientific theories, religious beliefs, and technological advancements. It's believed that Alexander encouraged the collection of foreign texts, manuscripts, and ideas throughout his empire, a policy his successors would embrace and expand upon. The Library of Alexandria was intended to embody this vision of a world united by knowledge. By collecting texts from Greece, Egypt, Persia, India, and other cultures, the library aimed to create a single institution that housed all human knowledge. This effort to bring together various traditions under one roof was revolutionary. It reflected not only the Ptolemies' ambition, but also their desire to legitimize their rule. By presenting themselves as enlightened rulers, heirs to Alexander's grand idea. Beyond mere accumulation, the library's purpose was also the pursuit of wisdom. Through study and debate, the Musam, the larger research institute to which the library was attached, became a gathering place for scholars from all over the Mediterranean and beyond. Philosophy, science, literature, and religion were discussed and analyzed in an environment that encouraged critical thinking and intellectual exploration. This pursuit of knowledge was not just a political tool, it was also a genuine effort to advance human understanding. Alexandria became a beacon of learning, attracting some of the greatest minds of the ancient world. The Ptolemaic rulers, inspired by Alexander's vision, provided generous support for scholars, offering stipends, housing, and access to the vast collection of texts. However, the very ambition that made the Library of Alexandria so extraordinary also made it vulnerable. Its desire to collect all knowledge created conflicts with other cultures, while the political and religious tensions of the era made its continued existence increasingly precarious. Alexander's vision of uniting the world through knowledge was a noble ideal, but its realization would prove to be far more fragile than he or his successors could have imagined. Chapter 3: Theories of Destruction. Section 1: Julius Caesar's Fire. One of the most popular and dramatic theories regarding the destruction of the Library of Alexandria involves the great Roman general Julius Caesar. In 48 BCE, during Caesar's civil war against Pompey, the Egyptian city of Alexandria became a battleground. Caesar, finding himself trapped within the city by hostile forces, loyal to the pharaoh Ptolemy XIII, made a desperate strategic decision that would have devastating consequences. To prevent the enemy fleet from blocking his escape by sea, Caesar ordered his men to set fire to the Egyptian ships anchored in the harbor. The fire quickly spread beyond its intended target, igniting warehouses, docks, and reportedly parts of the city itself. According to several ancient sources, the flames also reached areas where books and scrolls were stored, possibly including the famous Library of Alexandria. The Roman historian Plutarch, writing about a century later, suggested that the fire did indeed destroy a significant part of the library's collection. Other writers, such as Seneca, hinted that as many as 40,000 scrolls were lost in the blaze. However, conflicting accounts make it difficult to determine exactly what was destroyed. Some scholars argue that the fire likely damaged a secondary storage area or warehouse associated with the library rather than the library's main complex itself. If only part of the library's collection was destroyed, then what happened to the rest? This question has fueled speculation that the library continued to function in some capacity for several centuries after Caesar's fire. There are records of scholars visiting and working in Alexandria well into the Roman era, suggesting that at least some portion of the collection survived. However, the damage caused by Caesar's actions was not easily repaired. The loss of thousands of manuscripts would have been a devastating blow to the library's reputation and its mission to gather all knowledge. It also highlighted the vulnerability of the institution to political conflict and the whims of powerful leaders. The theory of Julius Caesar's fire remains one of the most compelling explanations for the library's decline. But it is far from conclusive. While there is strong evidence that the fire damaged parts of the city and its literary holdings, it is unlikely to have been the sole cause of the library's eventual disappearance. Instead, Caesar's fire may have been the first of several destructive episodes that gradually eroded the library's influence and resources. Yet, this event remains emblematic of the fragility of knowledge. In the face of violence and political chaos, it also raises the question of whether the destruction was a mere accident of war or something more intentional. Did Caesar truly intend to burn the library? Or was its destruction simply collateral damage? And if only part of the library was lost, what happened to the rest of its priceless collection? These questions remain unanswered, leaving the truth shrouded in the smoke and flames of history. Section 2. Religious conflicts. As the centuries passed, Alexandria's cultural and religious landscape underwent significant changes. By the 4th century CE, Christianity had spread throughout the Roman Empire, gradually becoming the dominant religion. With this shift came increasing intolerance toward what were considered pagan practices and institutions, a development that would have profound consequences for the Library of Alexandria. One of the most notorious events linked to the library's destruction involves the decree of Emperor Theodosius I in 391 CE. As a devout Christian, Theodosius sought to enforce Christianity as the state religion and issued orders to dismantle pagan temples throughout the empire. This period saw the violent destruction of numerous temples, statues, and shrines deemed incompatible with the new religious orthodoxy. In Alexandria, one of the prime targets was the Serapeum, a magnificent temple complex dedicated to the Greco-Egyptian god Serapis. The Serapeum was not just a religious site, but also an important cultural and intellectual center. While it is unclear whether the Library of Alexandria itself was located within the Serapeum, many scholars believe that at least part of its collection was stored there by this time. The destruction of the Serapeum by a Christian mob, possibly encouraged by local authorities, was described by several ancient writers as an act of religious purging. Temples were torn down, idols were smashed, and manuscripts considered heretical or pagan were likely burned or discarded. Although the exact extent of the damage remains uncertain, the incident represents one of the most significant blows to Alexandria's intellectual heritage. Religious conflict wasn't the only threat. but it was certainly one of the most destructive. The growing dominance of Christianity meant that many classical works of philosophy, science, and literature were increasingly viewed with suspicion. Texts that contradicted Christian doctrine or were associated with pagan beliefs were often neglected or outright destroyed. The tragic death of Hypatia, a renowned philosopher, mathematician, and astronomer who lived in Alexandria during the late 4th and early 5th centuries, symbolizes this cultural conflict. Hypatia's murder by a Christian mob in 415 CE marked a turning point in Alexandria's intellectual decline. Though her death was not directly related to the library itself, it demonstrated how dangerous intellectual pursuits could become in an environment of religious intolerance. By the end of the 5th century, much of Alexandria's scholarly community had been driven away, silenced, or converted. Whether the Library of Alexandria still existed in some diminished form by this time is unclear, but its role as a thriving center of knowledge was undoubtedly over. The religious conflicts of late antiquity dealt a devastating blow to the legacy of Alexandria, even if parts of the library had survived earlier catastrophes like Julius Caesar's fire. The changing ideological climate of the Roman Empire made its continued existence increasingly improbable. But was this truly the end? Or did some of the library's precious texts manage to survive elsewhere, hidden from the destructive forces of history? Section 3. Political turmoil and neglect. While fire and religious conflict are often cited as primary causes of the Library of Alexandria's destruction, political turmoil and simple neglect may have played an even greater role in its decline. Alexandria was a city marked by frequent political struggles, invasions, and power shifts that constantly threatened the stability of its great institutions, including the library. After Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire in 30 BCE, Alexandria remained an important cultural and economic hub, but it was also a city plagued by unrest, political strife between local factions, Roman governors, and religious groups often erupted into violence. These periods of instability made it increasingly difficult for the library to maintain its prestigious status as a center of learning. Funding and support for the library declined as new rulers with different priorities took control of the region. While the Ptolemies had invested heavily in preserving and expanding the collection, the Romans were primarily concerned with maintaining political order and extracting resources from their new territory. Scholarship was no longer seen as a tool of political power, but rather as an indulgence. The administrative structure of the library also began to crumble. Without strong patronage and protection, the once thriving scholarly community gradually dispersed. Scholars left Alexandria to seek safer and more supportive environments elsewhere. The lack of institutional leadership led to the neglect of the library's precious collections, which may have been left to decay over time. Adding to this problem was the economic decline of Alexandria itself. The city's importance as a trade hub diminished, and with it, the resources necessary to maintain the library. Without adequate funding or dedicated caretakers, the preservation of fragile manuscripts became increasingly challenging. Even the systems of organization and cataloging developed by earlier scholars fell into disarray. Furthermore, Alexandria became a target of numerous military campaigns. After the Roman Empire was divided into eastern and western halves, the city fell under the control of the Byzantine Empire. Conflicts between the Byzantines and various invading forces, including the Sassanid Persians, further destabilized the region. Every new wave of conquest brought potential threats to the library's continued existence. The final blow may have come during the Muslim conquest of Alexandria in 642 CE. Though historical accounts of the library's destruction by Muslim forces are often dismissed as exaggerated or fabricated, it is clear that the conquest brought significant changes to the city's social and cultural landscape, even if the library still existed in some form by that time. Its relevance and preservation would have been severely compromised. Ultimately, political turmoil and neglect were likely the most enduring causes of the library's downfall, while catastrophic events like Caesar's fire or religious persecution were dramatic and destructive. The gradual loss of institutional support and scholarly activity over the centuries dealt the most fatal blow. The Library of Alexandria may not have been destroyed in a single catastrophic moment. Instead, it was worn down by centuries of conflict, neglect, and shifting political priorities. But if the library truly faded away piece by piece, could some of its precious manuscripts have survived the chaos? Chapter 4: The Lost Knowledge. Section 1: What was lost? The loss of the Library of Alexandria was not just the destruction of a building. It was the disappearance of an immeasurable wealth of knowledge, accumulated over centuries. So, what exactly was lost when the library faded into history? The answer is both vast and tragic. At its height, the library is believed to have housed between 40,000 to 700,000 scrolls, containing writings on every conceivable subject. These texts included scientific works, literary masterpieces, historical accounts, philosophical treatises, medical texts, and religious manuscripts from cultures across the known world. Its collection was intended to encompass all human knowledge, transcending cultural and linguistic barriers. Among the most devastating losses were the scientific works of the ancient world. The library housed original writings from great minds like Euclid, the father of geometry, and Archimedes, whose groundbreaking discoveries in mathematics and physics were revolutionary. It is believed that Eratosthenes' calculations of the Earth's circumference and Hipparchus' work on astronomy were preserved there as well. The knowledge accumulated by these scholars laid the foundations for many fields of study. But science was not the only victim. The library also held numerous works of literature and philosophy, manuscripts from great Greek playwrights, poets, and historians, some of which are known to us only through fragmented copies or second-hand references, were likely kept there. The works of Homer, Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides were meticulously copied and studied by generations of scholars. Philosophical texts were equally treasured. The writings of Plato, Aristotle, and their successors were preserved and expanded upon. The library provided a place for philosophical schools to flourish, where new ideas could be debated and refined. Imagine how many philosophical discussions, theories, and even entire schools of thought were lost when the library's collections were scattered or destroyed. Religious manuscripts from various cultures were also part of the collection. It is believed that Jewish, Egyptian, Persian, and even Indian religious texts were gathered and studied by scholars who sought to understand the beliefs and customs of distant lands. The translations made at Alexandria likely played a crucial role in preserving and disseminating these religious traditions. Furthermore, the library's loss may have set humanity's scientific and cultural progress back by centuries. Imagine if the original works of Hypatia, who made significant contributions to mathematics and astronomy, had survived intact. Or if the medical knowledge of the Egyptians, which included surgical practices and herbal remedies, had been fully preserved and expanded upon. The Library of Alexandria was more than a collection of books. It was a bridge between civilizations, a place where ideas could be exchanged, debated, and refined. Its destruction was not only the loss of individual texts, but the collapse of a network of knowledge that could have continued to grow and flourish. And yet, the question remains, were all these precious works truly lost forever? Or did some of them survive, carried away by fleeing scholars, hidden away in private collections, or copied and stored in other libraries? As we continue to uncover ancient texts and artifacts, we may one day rediscover fragments of what was lost, but the tragedy of the Library of Alexandria reminds us of the fragile nature of knowledge itself. Section 2. The Impact on History. The destruction of the Library of Alexandria was a devastating blow to human knowledge, setting back scientific, philosophical, and cultural progress for centuries. Its loss left gaps in the historical record that may never be filled. One of the most significant consequences was the disruption of scientific advancement. The library was a hub for research, where scholars like Archimedes, Eratosthenes, and Ptolemy produced groundbreaking work. With the loss of their texts, much of their knowledge had to be rediscovered or reconstructed centuries later. Eratosthenes' near-accurate calculation of the Earth's circumference was largely forgotten, which delayed geographic and astronomical progress. In philosophy, the destruction of manuscripts meant the loss of influential works by pre-Socratic thinkers, Stoics, and other philosophers. Though Aristotle's writings survived through later preservation efforts, many of his works and those of his contemporaries were lost forever. This intellectual gap hindered the development of philosophical thought, particularly during the early medieval period. Religious and cultural texts from Egypt, Persia, India, and beyond were also lost. The library's mission to translate and study foreign manuscripts provided valuable insights into diverse cultures. Its destruction likely deepened misunderstandings and weakened opportunities for intercultural exchange. The loss of literary works was equally tragic. Complete texts of many Greek playwrights, poets, and historians were never recovered, leaving modern readers with only fragments. The library's unique role in preserving literature from various cultures meant that its destruction resulted in an irreplaceable cultural vacuum. Psychologically, the library's loss became a powerful symbol of how fragile knowledge truly is. It served as a warning to future generations about the importance of preserving intellectual achievements. Despite its destruction, the Library of Alexandria inspired the creation of later institutions, such as the House of Wisdom in Baghdad and the great libraries of Renaissance Europe. Had the library survived, the world's intellectual progress might have been significantly accelerated. Its destruction remains a haunting reminder of how easily centuries of knowledge can be lost. Yet, hope lingers that fragments of its wisdom may still be rediscovered. Section 3. Myths and Speculations. The disappearance of the Library of Alexandria has given rise to countless myths and speculations over the centuries, from tales of hidden manuscripts to secret societies dedicated to preserving its knowledge. The mystery surrounding the library has fueled imagination and intrigue, like few other historical enigmas. One popular theory suggests that before the library's final destruction, many of its most valuable texts were secretly removed and hidden. According to this idea, fleeing scholars or sympathetic officials may have transported scrolls to distant locations to protect them from war, religious persecution, or political instability. Some believe that fragments of the library's collection may still be waiting to be rediscovered in private collections, monasteries, or forgotten ruins. Another theory involves the supposed survival of texts within other ancient libraries. During the library's peak, Alexandria exchanged manuscripts with other centers of learning, such as Pergamon and Athens. It's possible that some works were copied and distributed before Alexandria's decline, preserving at least part of its knowledge in scattered locations throughout the Mediterranean. Additionally, some suggest that the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, established during the Islamic Golden Age, may have inherited knowledge originally held in the Library of Alexandria. The Abbasid caliphs, particularly Al-Ma'mun, were known for their dedication to translating and preserving ancient Greek texts. If any manuscripts from Alexandria had been rescued and carried to the Middle East, they might have found a new home in this vibrant intellectual center. There are also theories involving the Vatican Library. As Christianity gained dominance in the Roman Empire, many ancient texts deemed heretical or pagan were hidden or destroyed. Some researchers speculate that certain manuscripts from Alexandria were smuggled away and eventually became part of the secretive archives of the Vatican. While there is little evidence to support this claim, the idea persists as a tantalizing possibility. Beyond physical preservation, the idea of the library's knowledge surviving in an intellectual sense is also worth considering. The philosophical and scientific traditions established in Alexandria continued to influence later scholars, particularly during the Renaissance when classical knowledge was revived and reinterpreted. The works of Aristotle, Plato, and Euclid, many of which were preserved through Arabic translations, eventually made their way back to Europe, inspiring generations of thinkers. The idea that some portion of the library's collection might still exist somewhere continues to captivate historians and treasure hunters alike. Could there be ancient manuscripts waiting to be discovered in an untouched tomb, a forgotten monastery, or even deep within the catacombs of Alexandria itself? Despite the romanticism surrounding these theories, it's important to approach them with caution. While fragments of lost knowledge may still be recovered, the reality is that much of the library's collection is likely gone forever. However, the hope that some of its priceless wisdom may have survived is enough to keep the search alive. But why does this mystery continue to fascinate us? Perhaps it's because the Library of Alexandria symbolizes something greater than a mere collection of books. It represents the eternal human quest for knowledge, and the heartbreaking reality of how easily that knowledge can be lost. Chapter 5: Modern Searches and Theories. Section 1: Archaeological Discoveries. Despite its mysterious destruction, the legacy of the Library of Alexandria continues to attract scholars and archaeologists, eager to uncover what remains of this lost treasure of knowledge. Over the past few decades, several intriguing discoveries have been made in the ancient city of Alexandria, sparking hope that fragments of the library's collection may still exist. Underwater excavations in Alexandria's harbor have revealed the ruins of royal palaces, statues, and temples, submerged after earthquakes and gradual subsidence. Over the centuries, these findings suggest that parts of the ancient city's intellectual and cultural infrastructure may still be preserved beneath the waves. While no direct evidence of the library has been found underwater, the discoveries have provided valuable insight into Alexandria's architecture and urban planning. Additionally, excavations around the site of the Serapeum, a temple complex thought to have housed parts of the library's collection during later periods, have uncovered artifacts and writings hinting at scholarly activities. Though these findings are limited, they suggest that some texts might have been stored separately from the main library building, increasing the chances of their survival. Modern technology has also played a crucial role in the search. Ground-penetrating radar and advanced imaging techniques have allowed researchers to map the buried layers of Alexandria without disturbing the fragile ruins. Such methods have already revealed previously unknown structures, hinting that much of the ancient city's secrets remain hidden. However, the chaotic history of Alexandria poses significant challenges for archaeologists. Continuous urban development over the centuries has made large-scale excavations nearly impossible. What's more, the exact location of the library remains a matter of debate. Some researchers believe that the main library building was destroyed long ago, while others argue it may still lie beneath the modern city, awaiting discovery. Despite these obstacles, the search continues. Each new discovery, no matter how small, brings researchers one step closer to unraveling the mystery of the Library of Alexandria. Whether it's through physical excavation or the analysis of surviving texts, the quest to reclaim this lost legacy is far from over. But what if the library's knowledge didn't vanish entirely? Could some of its precious manuscripts have been saved and preserved elsewhere? As we'll explore next, there are compelling theories suggesting that fragments of the library's collection may still be waiting to be found. Section 2. Theories of hidden manuscripts. The possibility that some of the Library of Alexandria's manuscripts may have survived its destruction has intrigued historians and treasure hunters for centuries. While much of its collection was likely lost to fire, conflict, and neglect, some theories suggest that valuable texts were secretly preserved or transported to safer locations. One of the most popular theories involves the movement of manuscripts to other parts of the Mediterranean world. As Alexandria was a major intellectual hub, copies of important works were often shared with other libraries and institutions. Pergamon, Athens, and even Rome are believed to have held copies of manuscripts originally housed in Alexandria. This widespread distribution means that at least fragments of the library's collection may still exist, preserved in other archives. Another theory suggests that fleeing scholars, aware of the library's impending destruction, smuggled manuscripts to private collections or remote temples. Some speculate that religious institutions, particularly early Christian monasteries, may have hidden away valuable texts to protect them from destruction. This idea is supported by the fact that many ancient texts only survived thanks to being copied and stored in monastic libraries throughout the Middle Ages. The Vatican Library is often mentioned in this context, as Christianity spread and ancient texts were either destroyed or hidden. Some researchers believe that certain manuscripts from Alexandria were secretly preserved within the Vatican's vast and mysterious archives. While this theory remains speculative, it continues to fascinate conspiracy theorists and historians alike. Additionally, there are rumors that parts of the library's collection were transported eastward, finding refuge in the intellectual centers of the Islamic Golden Age. The House of Wisdom in Baghdad, known for its extensive translation efforts, may have inherited or copied works originally held in Alexandria. Arabic translations of classical Greek texts, including those by Aristotle, Euclid, and Galen, were eventually reintroduced to Europe, sparking the Renaissance. Modern researchers continue to hope that undiscovered manuscripts from Alexandria may be found in forgotten libraries, private collections, or even buried beneath the sands of Egypt. as new technologies allow us to uncover hidden texts and decode damaged manuscripts. The possibility of reclaiming some of the library's lost knowledge remains alive. But are these hopes realistic, or merely wishful thinking? Theories of hidden manuscripts may be captivating, but without solid evidence, they remain speculative. Still, the dream of rediscovering even a fraction of the library's lost wisdom continues to drive research and exploration to this day. Section 3. Efforts to reconstruct the library. The mystery of the Library of Alexandria has not only inspired endless speculation, but also practical efforts to recreate what was lost. Over the years, scholars, archaeologists, and even governments have made attempts to revive the library's legacy, both intellectually and physically. One of the most ambitious projects was the construction of the modern Bibliotheca Alexandrina, inaugurated in 2002. Located near the site of the ancient library, this state-of-the-art cultural complex was built with the goal of restoring Alexandria's status as a global center of knowledge and learning. Its striking, futuristic architecture, featuring a massive circular reading room and an exterior wall inscribed with characters from numerous languages, reflects its mission of embracing knowledge from all cultures. The Bibliotheca Alexandrina houses millions of books, including extensive collections of Arabic literature, manuscripts, and digital archives. It also serves as a center for research, conferences, and cultural events. Much like the original library, while it can never truly replace what was lost, its establishment is a powerful symbol of humanity's enduring quest for knowledge. Beyond physical reconstruction, efforts to digitally recreate the library's collection have also been made. Numerous projects aimed at compiling ancient texts, translations, and scholarly works into accessible online databases continue to expand the reach of the knowledge that once existed in Alexandria. Initiatives such as the Internet Archive and various open-access scholarly projects strive to preserve and share humanity's intellectual heritage. Meanwhile, archaeologists continue their search for physical remnants of the ancient library. Excavations in Alexandria and underwater sites along the coast have revealed intriguing artifacts and architectural structures. Although definitive evidence of the library itself remains elusive, each discovery adds new pieces to the puzzle of what once existed. Additionally, historians and researchers are re-examining surviving texts from antiquity to identify references to the library's works. Sometimes, clues appear in unexpected places. Quotes, summaries, or even criticisms of lost texts that survived through later writers. Piecing together these fragments is a painstaking process, but one that brings us closer to understanding the true scope of Alexandria's lost knowledge. Despite all these efforts, the reconstruction of the Library of Alexandria remains an elusive dream. Yet, the spirit of the original library lives on through modern institutions dedicated to the preservation and dissemination of knowledge. Its legacy continues to inspire people worldwide to pursue truth, understanding, and the advancement of human thought. But is the dream of fully restoring the library truly impossible? Or is there still hope that fragments of its wisdom may yet be rediscovered and shared with the world? Chapter 6. Why it still matters. Section 1. Influence on modern libraries. The Library of Alexandria may have been lost to history, but its legacy continues to influence the way we preserve, share, and value knowledge today. Modern libraries and research institutions around the world have drawn inspiration from Alexandria's ambitious vision of creating a universal repository of knowledge. One of the most direct influences can be seen in the establishment of national libraries. Institutions like the Library of Congress in the United States, the British Library in the United Kingdom, and the Bibliothèque Nationale de France were all created with the intention of collecting and preserving as much human knowledge as possible. This idea of centralized knowledge gathering was pioneered by the Library of Alexandria, which aimed to collect texts from every known culture and subject. The concept of cataloging and organizing knowledge, first attempted by Alexandrian scholars like Callimachus, has also left a lasting impact. His creation of the Penates, a comprehensive cataloging system that classified texts by genre, author, and subject, laid the groundwork for modern library classification methods. Today's systems, such as the Dewey Decimal Classification and the Library of Congress classification, echo the same principles established over 2,000 years ago. Furthermore, the Library of Alexandria's commitment to making knowledge accessible to scholars from different backgrounds has inspired the development of open-access resources and digital libraries. Projects like Google Books, the Internet Archive, and Europeana strive to make literary and academic works freely available to anyone with an internet connection. This global effort to democratize information reflects the same spirit of intellectual exchange that once thrived in Alexandria. The library's influence extends beyond physical libraries. It has also inspired the creation of research institutes and academic centers aimed at fostering interdisciplinary collaboration. The original library's association with the Musam, a research institute where scholars worked, can be seen as a precursor to today's universities and research academies. Additionally, the vision behind the Library of Alexandria has influenced cultural institutions, like the modern Bibliotheca Alexandrina, which continues to promote scholarly research, cultural exchange, and technological innovation. Its existence is a testament to the enduring appeal of Alexandria's legacy and humanity's ongoing desire to preserve and expand knowledge. But beyond practical influences, the Library of Alexandria remains a powerful symbol of what humanity can achieve when it values knowledge, creativity, and intellectual curiosity. Its tragic loss serves as a reminder of the fragility of wisdom and the importance of protecting and sharing what we learn. The question remains how much of what the library once held has already influenced our world, even indirectly, and how much more could still be out there, waiting to be rediscovered. Section 2. The Symbol of Lost Knowledge. The Library of Alexandria has become more than just a historical institution. It is a powerful symbol of lost knowledge and humanity's struggle to preserve its intellectual achievements. Its destruction, whether by fire, war, or neglect, represents the fragility of knowledge in the face of political, religious, and cultural upheaval. For centuries, the image of the burning library has served as a warning about the consequences of ignorance and intolerance. It symbolizes the tragic loss of countless works of literature, science, philosophy, and history that could have advanced human understanding, if only they had been preserved. The very idea that knowledge can be so easily destroyed continues to resonate in a world where censorship, war, and political control still threaten intellectual freedom. This symbolic power of the Library of Alexandria has inspired writers, artists, and thinkers throughout history. During the Renaissance, the rediscovery of classical knowledge, much of it thought to have been lost with the library, fueled a renewed interest in learning and intellectual exploration. The tragedy of Alexandria became a motivating force for those determined to rebuild the foundations of science, art, and philosophy. In modern times, the library's legacy serves as a reminder of the importance of protecting cultural heritage. Events such as the destruction of the Bamiyan Buddhas, the burning of the National Library of Bosnia and Herzegovina during the Siege of Sarajevo, and the loss of priceless artifacts from the Iraq Museum during the 2003 invasion, have all been compared to the fall of Alexandria. The library's story continues to illustrate the devastating impact that the loss of knowledge can have on humanity. Furthermore, the Library of Alexandria has become a metaphor for the unattainable ideal of gathering all knowledge in one place. As technology advances and the Internet continues to grow, the dream of a universal repository of knowledge has found new expression in digital archives and online platforms. However, the lessons of Alexandria serve as a sobering reminder that information, no matter how well preserved, remains vulnerable to erasure, whether through technological failures, intentional destruction, or simple neglect. The story of the library has also fueled countless works of fiction. From novels and movies to video games and speculative theories, its legacy as a symbol of lost wisdom continues to inspire creators to imagine what might have been and what could still be recovered. Ultimately, the Library of Alexandria represents both the heights of human achievement and the depths of human failure. It is a symbol of our unending quest for knowledge, our capacity for intellectual greatness, and the tragic reality of how easily that greatness can be undone. But even more than a symbol of loss, the library serves as a call to action. Its memory urges us to protect and cherish knowledge, to learn from the past, and to ensure that the wisdom of our time is not similarly lost to future generations. Section 3. Lessons from the Past. The story of the Library of Alexandria offers more than just a tragic tale of loss. It presents valuable lessons about the importance of knowledge preservation, cultural exchange, and intellectual freedom, principles that remain as relevant today as they were 2,000 years ago. One of the most important lessons is the fragility of knowledge. The library's destruction demonstrates how easily centuries of accumulated wisdom can be erased through war, political instability, religious conflict, or even simple neglect. Today, with vast amounts of information stored digitally, we face similar vulnerabilities. Technological failures, cyber attacks, or deliberate censorship could result in the sudden disappearance of invaluable knowledge. Alexandria's fall is a reminder of the importance of creating redundant systems for preserving information and making sure that knowledge remains accessible to all. Another lesson lies in the value of intellectual diversity and collaboration. The Library of Alexandria was a melting pot of knowledge from different cultures: Greek, Egyptian, Persian, Indian, Hebrew, and more. Its mission to collect and study texts from all over the world encouraged a kind of intellectual openness that allowed scholars to build upon the discoveries of others. Today, this spirit of collaboration is essential for addressing global challenges. From scientific research to cultural understanding, the library's history also teaches us about the dangers of intolerance and ideological suppression. Many of the losses associated with the library's decline were the result of religious or political efforts to eliminate ideas considered dangerous or heretical. Censorship, whether carried out by authorities or self-imposed by scholars, afraid of persecution, stifles creativity and progress. True intellectual freedom requires the protection of diverse perspectives, even those that challenge established beliefs. Additionally, Alexandria's example reminds us of the importance of knowledge dissemination. while the library aimed to gather all human knowledge in one place. It also sought to share that knowledge through teaching, translation, and debate. The survival of many classical texts through later Arabic translations highlights the need for continuous exchange between cultures. When knowledge is shared rather than hoarded, it stands a much greater chance of surviving and thriving. Finally, the story of the Library of Alexandria serves as a powerful motivation for modern preservation efforts. Institutions like UNESCO, the Internet Archive, and countless museums and libraries worldwide are working to protect humanity's intellectual and cultural heritage. The rebuilding of the Bibliotheca Alexandrina in 2002 is a testament to humanity's determination to preserve knowledge and learn from past mistakes. By reflecting on the lessons of Alexandria, we can strive to ensure that our own achievements are not lost to future generations. But the question remains, are we truly learning from the past, or are we doomed to repeat the same mistakes? Chapter 7. Conclusion. Section 1. Revisiting the mystery. The mystery of the Library of Alexandria remains one of the most compelling puzzles of history. Despite countless investigations and theories, the true fate of this magnificent institution continues to evade us. Was it destroyed by the flames of Julius Caesar's fire, gradually dismantled by religious conflicts, neglected by shifting political powers, or simply lost to the erosion of time? Or perhaps, as some suggest, parts of its priceless knowledge managed to survive through the efforts of fleeing scholars and secretive preservation. The most likely scenario is that the library's decline was not the result of a single catastrophic event, but rather a series of destructive incidents spread over centuries. While Caesar's fire undoubtedly caused damage, evidence suggests that the library continued to function afterward. Though perhaps in a diminished state, religious persecution during the later Roman Empire and ongoing political instability in Alexandria may have further contributed to its decline. By the time of the Islamic conquest in the 7th century, whatever remained of the library's collection was likely already scattered, forgotten, or deliberately destroyed. Yet, some intriguing theories propose that fragments of the library's collection survived. Scholars fleeing Alexandria may have carried manuscripts to safer locations, where they were preserved, copied, and integrated into other knowledge centers. The House of Wisdom in Baghdad, established centuries later, became a beacon of learning during the Islamic Golden Age. Many Greek texts, including those of Aristotle and Euclid, were translated and studied there, suggesting that the intellectual legacy of Alexandria lived on, even if indirectly. The possibility of lost texts waiting to be discovered continues to fuel speculation. Perhaps some manuscripts were hidden away in private collections, or buried in forgotten ruins. There are even theories that secret archives within the Vatican, library, or remote monasteries may still contain portions of Alexandria's lost wisdom. While these ideas remain largely unproven, they keep the mystery alive and inspire ongoing searches. But the mystery of the Library of Alexandria is not only about what was lost. It's also about the unrealized potential of a world where that knowledge continued to flourish. What scientific breakthroughs, philosophical insights, or literary masterpieces were erased from history's pages? Could humanity's progress have been accelerated if the library had survived intact? These are questions that haunt historians and dreamers alike. Yet, beyond the tragedy of loss, the library's story offers valuable lessons. It warns us of the fragility of knowledge and the importance of preserving intellectual achievements. It also challenges us to continue searching, to rebuild what was lost, and to ensure that our own libraries of knowledge do not meet the same fate. The truth about the library's disappearance may remain forever hidden, but as long as the search for answers continues, the spirit of the Library of Alexandria lives on, driving us to protect, expand, and cherish the knowledge we possess. Section 2. The Enduring Legacy. The legacy of the Library of Alexandria extends far beyond the physical structure that was lost. Its influence can still be felt today, not only as a cautionary tale of knowledge's fragility, but also as a powerful inspiration for future generations. Despite its tragic end, the library's vision of gathering and preserving knowledge continues to shape how we approach learning and intellectual pursuit. The Library of Alexandria established the model of a comprehensive research institution, dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge across all disciplines. It was the first known attempt to collect texts from around the world, regardless of their cultural or linguistic origin. This inclusive approach has inspired countless modern institutions, from the great national libraries of Europe to the digital archives of today's internet. The idea of organizing and categorizing knowledge, pioneered by scholars like Callimachus, with his creation of the Pinax, laid the groundwork for library systems used across the world. Without such early attempts to classify and index vast amounts of information, the development of modern research and education would have been significantly hindered. Additionally, the library's commitment to translating and preserving foreign texts fostered a tradition of intellectual openness and cultural exchange. Even after its decline, this tradition survived through the efforts of later scholars and institutions. Particularly during the Islamic Golden Age, the translations of Greek works into Arabic, many of which were later reintroduced to Europe during the Renaissance, ensured that at least fragments of Alexandria's knowledge lived on. But beyond its practical influence, the Library of Alexandria represents a timeless ideal, the dream of a place where all human knowledge can be gathered, preserved, and freely shared. This vision has inspired countless efforts to build institutions dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge, from the House of Wisdom in Baghdad to the modern Bibliotheca Alexandrina, which now stands near the site of its ancient predecessor. Even the digital age has been shaped by Alexandria's legacy. Projects like the Internet Archive, Google Books, and countless online educational resources strive to make information accessible to everyone. The dream of universal knowledge, once pursued by the scholars of Alexandria, is now more achievable than ever, though its preservation remains as fragile as it was thousands of years ago. The library's story continues to serve as both a warning and an inspiration. It reminds us of the importance of safeguarding knowledge against destruction, neglect, and suppression, and it challenges us to ensure that our own age of information is preserved for future generations. Though the Library of Alexandria may be gone, its spirit endures. As long as humanity continues to seek truth, expand knowledge, and share wisdom, the legacy of this legendary institution will live on. Section 3. Invitation to explore. The mystery of the Library of Alexandria is not just a tale of the past, it's a call to action for the present and future. Despite centuries of investigation and speculation, the truth about what really happened to this legendary institution remains hidden in the shadows of history. And yet, the questions it raises continue to inspire researchers, archaeologists, writers, and curious minds worldwide. Why does the story of the library still matter so much today? Perhaps because it represents more than a lost collection of books and scrolls. It symbolizes humanity's endless quest for knowledge, the ambition to gather all wisdom under one roof, and the tragic reality of how easily that wisdom can be lost. The Library of Alexandria remains a powerful reminder that knowledge, no matter how vast or well protected, is always vulnerable to destruction, suppression, or simple neglect. But even as the library stands as a cautionary tale, it also serves as a beacon of hope. The possibility that parts of its collection survived, whether hidden in forgotten ruins, preserved by early Christian or Islamic scholars, or even transported to distant lands, continues to fuel exploration and research. And the ongoing efforts to rebuild what was lost, from the construction of the modern Bibliotheca Alexandrina to the creation of massive digital archives, show that the spirit of Alexandria's great institution lives on. Moreover, the story of the library challenges us to consider what might have been. What scientific advancements, philosophical insights, or literary masterpieces were erased from history's pages? Could our understanding of the world, and even our technological progress, have been far more advanced? If the library's wisdom had endured, the answers to these questions may never be known. But the search itself continues to drive the human desire to uncover the truth. Yet, this mystery also prompts a deeper reflection. What lessons can we take from the fall of the Library of Alexandria to ensure our own age of knowledge does not meet the same fate? The rapid advancement of technology and the vast amount of information stored digitally today offer incredible opportunities but also present new challenges. The fragility of knowledge remains a pressing concern, one that Alexandria's tragedy continues to highlight. The quest to rediscover what was lost is about more than just finding old manuscripts. It's about preserving and sharing the knowledge we have today. It's about ensuring that future generations can learn from our discoveries, our mistakes, and our triumphs. The story of the Library of Alexandria serves as both a warning and an inspiration, reminding us that the pursuit of knowledge is a journey that must be protected and cherished. Now, the mystery is yours to explore. What do you believe truly happened to the Library of Alexandria? And more importantly, how can we learn from its fall to build a world where knowledge remains safe, accessible, and everlasting? If you found this video helpful or interesting, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.